Yo, 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 what's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to yet again another fantastic indie creator interview. It's your Caper Cody, and we're keeping it geekly with our returning guest, Brendan Albetski. We're here to break down Maru Kiru Destroys the Moon, the Chosen One arcs, and everything in between. Brendan, welcome back. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing very well, thank you. My first question is the most important one: is how many times has Edwin DeCastro been on the show now?
Shoo, so there's like a handful of people who have just been on a ridiculous amount of times. I want to say Edwin's probably been on like 3 or 4, maybe 5. I want to say probably 4.
This is my fourth time. Fourth time. So, they've got a friendly little rivalry there about who can be on the show more times.
Edwin,
if you're watching, I think I might be either tying or surpassing you today. So
Brendan destroy between worlds.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to say Richard Fairgray is another one who's been on just a ridiculous, but he's pumping out like a book every month almost, it seems. It's remarkable, the pace like all you creators are able to like just keep up with.
Yeah, I mean we're rocking right now with with World Ends in Fire. We put out 4 issues last year, and 2.5 of them were kind of in the last quarter of the year. So that volume is going to be coming out really soon. I got a couple of them back there, but I'm working on issue 5 of that today, and then I'm working at the same time working on more Maru Kiru stuff and working on Circuit Champ too, which I've talked about a little bit here and there. So yeah, there's a lot going on. By the end of February, my goal and plan is to have finished 80 interior pages for the year at that point. So we'll see how that goes. Kind of on pace for it at the moment, so we'll see. But yeah, you got to keep it up. You gotta move fast.
So how are you able to balance like so much? It's just there's so many hours in the day, and it just seems like you're squeezing out every single minute.
Well, I have a schedule, and I stick to it. Is really the best way that I can describe it. I write down all the things that I need to do for the week and slot in the hours of how long it's going to take. That's probably the greatest benefit of doing this for a really long time, is you at least get to know like how fast you can work and how long it takes you to do certain things. So I can sit down and see like what I'm going to have to do for the week and have a very good estimation of how long it's going to take me to do it and how much I can fit into a week. So they got that going for me at least.
And we were talking backstage just about being a perfectionist and like the minute details. Like, do you find yourself struggling with that with like any of these like projects you're working with, like just getting to the nitty gritty and putting in as much detail as humanly possible, or is that kind of not how you work?
Yeah, no, I try not to do that, honestly. Well, you drive yourself crazy, and it's you hear a lot about burnout in the industry, and people get burned out on working on their own stuff because they have that kind of mindset. And for me, a big part of the perfectionism is speed, if that makes any sense. Which is kind of weird to think about, because it's like, well, if you're getting it done as fast as you can, then you're not really taking the time and the care. And it's like that's not really true. The being fast is a part of it, and so the goal is to do your best work as fast as you can. And I just finished reading Demon Slayer, and the end of Demon Slayer, I won't spoil anything for anybody who hasn't read it, but there's this kind of this bit that Tanjiro touches on at the end of Demon Slayer. We're talking about he's talking about sword fighting when he mentions it, but it applies to comics as well. But the difference between capability, competency, and proficiency, where capability is your raw ability to do something well. Competency is your ability to do it consistently, and then proficiency is your ability to do it consistently no matter what the circumstances are. So if you want to be a proficient comic artist, you need to do your best work, and you need to be able to do it very quickly. And that's just kind of what goes with the territory. And so, there's definitely going to be moments when you are not 100% satisfied with a page that you've done, maybe, or you look back at it and you say, you know, if I had 5 or 6 more hours, I could go back and I could redo this and I could redo that and I could change this. But the reality is you don't have 5 or 6 more hours. You have to do it. You have to do it correct the first time, which is not to say that you shouldn't correct your mistakes. But again, you got to keep an eye on the clock and figure out how much time you have to correct those mistakes, as opposed to getting bogged down and calling up your writers and saying, hey, I know I said I was going to have 5 pages for you this week, but I'm actually going to have 2 because I had to. People don't like getting that call, you know. And that's something I always put in my when I'm pitching work. Is just like I hit deadlines. You know, that's I feel like that's a big thing. Is you got to be able to hit deadlines. So.
I love that little quote too. I can only just imagine, like, you read it, you just close your book, pick up your pen, and you're like, you know, it's my time now.
Yeah, really. That's what one of the things I love so much about manga specifically is, like, I feel like when I'm always very inspired when I finish reading a manga. A lot of comics are kind of downers when you get to the end of them. It's funny. I feel like that's like the big reading difference between like Western comics and well, not all manga, but like shonen manga at least, is, you know, you get to the end of a really good story in a Western comic and it's like a catharsis. You know, you're weeping over all the pain and misery that has been wrought on your characters, and you know, you get to the end of a manga and you want to just go punch God. You
say that, but I just finished Chainsaw Man Volume 10 last night, and I wanted to crawl in a hole and just cry like all night.
Yeah, Chainsaw Man is really depressing. I started Chainsaw Man, and whenever you start a story and your protagonist comes out and his dream is to just be a normal person, you're like, oh boy, you know, we're gonna go to some low places.
Yeah. But you know, talking some low places, some high places. Let's get back to Maru. I mean, so last I had you on, I want to say it was what, chapter 6, the wordless chapter. Where
that was chapter 8 was the word.
Chapter 8. Chapter 8. I had it mixed up.
That was the last one that we talked about. Yeah.
Yes. So I mean, a lot has happened since then, and I always love seeing these chapters because it feels like every chapter update you do, like we see such like improvements. Like I didn't even know that was possible, but it seems like your work keeps getting more and more refined. You try more ideas, or there's new things being implemented, new perspectives, new just angles, ideas. I mean, chapter 10 was remarkable. I loved everything about it. We see her kind of go through some hell, you know, getting shot up with some arrows, getting stabbed. The one scene in particular that just stood out so much was just like it was like the globe and she's on the top and there's just like the body surrounding her, and then there's just waves of more coming up. And I just love the way, I guess, you're able to translate your ideas to paper. Like, how do you find yourself just coming up with these like refreshing like tactics and approaches to your work?
Well, it's like every time I do a Maru Kiru chapter, I want to do something new and different and awesome, and I want to make every chapter better than the one before it. And you know, when I started the comic, this is when we talk about perfectionism some more, just because I got it on the brain now. But they were talking about they talked about me on the Global Comics Connect podcast recently. But they did, and the thing that they talked about was specifically this, was like, you know, the comic looks way different now than it was when it started, and it does get better in every issue. And you know, Art Crumbs hit upon exactly my philosophy in this. It's just like, yeah, it's the learning and the growing and the refinement with each respective chapter. And, you know, the take-home message is like, don't wait until you're ready to start your comic. Start now, because the best way to learn how to do this stuff is to do it. I really, really mean that. And you know, there are definitely people out there who are architects and plan out every detail, and some of them are exceptional cartoonists. I talk about Christine Larson all the time. And I don't know Christine particularly well, but I have read all of her bonus material enough to at least kind of draw some conclusions about her process. And one of the things that I think is absolutely crazy about what she does is her thumbnails are so detailed. I feel like you could publish them and call it the comic, and people would be like, yeah, that seems about right. And it's like that level of like careful, detailed planning is what I don't do. And clearly, like some people, you know, that's what they gravitate towards, and they build on that, and they each respective layer. For me, every time I work on a new chapter, I try to add something into the process to make it better. And so with some of these other chapters, it's like it's creative paneling, or it's, in this case, that scene you're talking about with the moon rising out of the lake and all of the dudes on it. That was kind of what I built that chapter around, is I wanted to have that specific scene. And I'm like, all right, how am I going to accomplish a scenario where I can do that? And so really it's like, and I feel like I'm doing a bad job of explaining this now, but it's like, what's the coolest thing that I can do, and what's the coolest thing that I can do, and what's a feasible way for me to be able to draw it and put it into a comic and have it not take me 6 years to finish the chapter. Kind of walking that balancing act of like, how cool can I make it and how can I finish it in a reasonable amount of time. And a lot of that comes down to goal setting too, because last year at the beginning of the year, I said 4 quarterly releases of Maru Kiru. I'm going to do 4, which I did. I hit that. It was like, I don't care how long they are. You know, we're going to tell the story that needs to be told. Some of them are going to be longer than others, but we're going to do 4. And so we did 4. And this year we're doing it a little bit differently. I said, I'm going to do a weekly update this year, 1 page a week. Because I'm doing this full time now. This is how I make my income now is on comics. So Maru Kiru, you will be shocked to learn I don't make a whole lot of money off of that. So I you know, it's like, it's my creator-owned comic, and it's something that I love and I want to keep doing, but I need to balance that with the work that's paying the bills. So 1 page a week, I figure, you know, I can keep up with that. And, you know, if you're a fan of Maru Kiru, I'll go look directly into the camera now and say, if you're a fan of Maru Kiru and you want to see more pages, consider becoming a subscriber to either my Ko-fi page or to my Substack, and pay me money to make Maru Kiru comics, and I'll do more of them. So that's the other thing, is that I'll come out and say that, you know, we're doing the free weekly release on Global Comics and other platforms of Maru Kiru. But if you are impatient and you'd like to read more pages in advance, if you are a paid subscriber to those things that I just said, you'll get all the month's pages at once. So like Substack, I have a couple of paid Substack subscribers. You'll be getting something in your inbox today. That's all February pages. If you're subscribing on Ko-fi, same deal. You'll get access to all those at once. So maybe a slightly more contiguous reading experience than doing it 1 week. So and you'll have the, you know, the benefit and the good feeling of knowing that you're supporting the comic and encouraging me to make more of it, because I have big plans for the series as a whole, and I'm gonna do it one way or the other. It's really just a matter of how quickly I'm able to do that.
You know, and you'll also have like the you know, a week's, you know, worth or so of knowledge of what's going to happen next. You know, and
true.
Not everyone's going to be privy to that. So let's go ahead. Let's pull up the cover and the first page and kind of check them out together. I really like the cover too. It's like, where'd you draw the inspiration from? Like we have her standing, you know, proud. She's wielding a different weapon too, it looks like.
I think I drew this on an airplane. I don't remember. Yeah, I for the covers, I think that it's really important to have the protagonist on the cover. Maru Kiru is on every cover. This is the 11th cover, and she's on all of them. And yeah, you know, I wanted to show some different stuff. So, you know, the style of the comic is maturing a bit. Which is not to say it's becoming more mature audiences. It's more like to say it is getting closer to its final form, whatever that may be. So yeah, you know, it's changed a little bit. You know, we've kind of altered some of the way that I draw stuff, getting a little bit more stylized, because I just want it to look cool. That's my thing. But to show kind of the color palette of what's going to be in the chapter. Again, the thing with covers that I always want to get is like give you an idea of what you're going to get in the book. And now the weapon that she's got here is actually doesn't appear in this particular chapter. It was in the original plan. It's something that's going to appear eventually. Spoilers. But it didn't make it in as quickly as I thought it was going to. When I was working on this chapter, and again, if you're subscribing to me in a monetary capacity, you'll get behind the scenes stuff and you'll get to see some of the process of how this works. But when I was writing this chapter, I did something different because I've said before that I don't use a script when I work on Maru, Kiru. And this time I'm like, well, I've been working with DC Horn, who is the writer and the editor behind, or I should say, the editor-in-chief of Zancon, and writes majority of their books, including The World Ends in Fire, which is a book that I've worked on with him for quite a while now. And we've gotten into a really good flow with each other, and a really good working relationship. And obviously I work on scripts from him when I make those comics. And so that process really works well. Maybe I'm not giving the script enough credit. Maybe I need to try working off of a script that I wrote. So I wrote a script for this, for the most of the Chosen Ones arc is actually written out. And I started working on it, and immediately I was like, this is way too freaking cumbersome. I've set myself up here. When I'm the only one working on something, when you're working on something with a writer for a writer, it's different because it's like they give you a vision and you want to realize that in the best way that you can. When it's just you, and maybe this is just a personal taste thing for me, but it's like I write this script down. It's like putting handcuffs on myself and then going to write the chapter bound to what I've written in the script. And it only took one page for me to go, why the hell am I doing this to myself? I have complete control over everything here. I can do whatever I want. And I went back to the drawing board thinking to myself, like, how do I want to do this? And I was playing Alan Wake 2 at the time. And this is going to make me sound like an idiot. Because one of the things is like I talked to some people about this in Cartoonist Co-op, where a lot of those folks, went to art school, went to school sometimes specifically for cartooning. I didn't do any of that. I figured all this crap out on my own, which is why it's taken me so long to do it. And so I'm playing Alan Wake 2, and I get to the part in Alan Wake 2 where a big part of that game is like putting things onto a vision board, essentially. And so he does this one part where it's like Alan Wake is a writer, and so he's writing his own story, and he gets this board and he puts up little post-it notes about things that are going to happen, and he can move them around and change the way things are going to be. And I'm like, oh, duh, I can do that. So I made myself a little virtual whiteboard, and I took the script and I chopped it up into all the composite pieces that I wanted to get into the chapter. And I started moving them around and, created a beat structure and a page structure that works. Because Maru Kiru is a very action heavy comic, and it, even when I'm like writing it myself and I should be conscious of how long action takes, I find myself putting myself in spots where it's like, oh, I've got this page where I've got 5 times as much action as should be happening on one page. I need to stretch this out. And like with Maru Kiru, I never ever edit down my action scenes in Maru Kiru. It's a gratuitous comic. It's a luxurious comic. We really want to enjoy and kind of get lost in all of the big action moments. So I always let those expand them out, blow them out, make them big. And you're going to see a lot of that in this chapter. And I'm very excited. I finished a good chunk of this first bit. And I'm very excited for being able to share it with everybody, because there's a lot of fun, colorful, and explosive stuff that's going to happen.
Real quick, let me hit up chat. We got Captain B-Dub stopping in saying yo, hope everyone is well. Thank you for joining us, B-Dub. Hope you're having a fantastic morning. We have BMD Nerd. Where can we buy a digital version of this? So is volume 2 available digital like at the moment, or is that going to be included with your Kickstarter?
Well, there will be a Kickstarter eventually, you just said, which will be for, in support of the physical release, but there will be a digital tier for that as well. The digital version is available right now. You can actually, I need to put it up on my coffee store. I'm going to be doing that today. But if you don't want to wait for that, you can actually buy a PDF from Global Comics right now.
Which we have the link right here. So we'll put that in chat, and then we'll have the coffee link. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, say both those volumes, 1 and 2 are available right now, $5 a piece. And if you want to get the PDF, and I don't ever want to talk anybody out of giving me money, but you can also read it for free on Global Comics, if you were so inclined. Because I again, that's something that's like always important to me, is that if you can afford it, I definitely encourage you to buy it, because I will take that. I need that.
Money keeps Brendan creating more art at a fast pace. So there is the link. Oh, go ahead.
But if you can't afford it, then I don't want to gatekeep that from people, because I think the most important thing about making comics is having people read them.
I love that as well. So right there is the link, and we'll have that description updated with the coffee link as well, so you guys can buy it from there. So, I mean, one thing I want to kind of backpedal to was, I think it was in chapter 10 as well. There was just a lot that I seen that you were implementing and trying. There's a sound effect that not only bled from the sound effect part of the text, but into her character design at the very tail end that I really loved how you did. It was, I forgot what it was, but it was like,
so did I.
Yeah, I mean, I could pull it up. Let me try to find it.
Let's pull it up, because
dude, it was awesome the way it like bled into it. Was I remember when I was rereading it, jotting it down, because I'm like, this is good.
Yeah, you're gonna have to go back in time, probably.
Oh.
Actually, if you I don't know. From chapter 10.
Oh wait, you got it on your end?
I do. The very end.
I forgot exactly where it was. I'm gonna have to try to. I'm trying to.
Yeah, if you can find it.
Yes, I'm gonna find it right now. But in the meantime, what can we expect from the Chosen One's arc? What is the Chosen One? Like, what is the importance of the title?
Well, you'll come to find out as we progress through it. But it is the Chosen Ones. That is a plural. So I think the main thing that you can expect is a lot of new characters. This is a new arc. Volume 2 is the end of the first arc of the comic, which I'm calling the Tanaris arc now, because that's where most of it happens. But the Chosen Ones is a lot. There's going to be a lot of psychological stuff at play, I hope. And it's about multiple people who feel in one way or another that they've been chosen to do something, or they're an important person, perhaps maybe the most important person in the story, in the world, and the concept behind the Chosen One is typically that there's one person who's the most important person in the story or in the world, or whatever you might have. So my question when I started working on this is, well, what if there's a handful of people, 2, maybe even more, that both think that of themselves, and what would happen in that capacity? So there's going to be some new characters. There's going to be some kind of wild shifts in tone from what you might have been used to so far. It's not all going to be Maru Kiru focused. There's going to be some other characters introduced. In this first chapter, you're going to meet some new characters. We introduced some characters at the end of chapter 9. So Maru's got some new friends now. Yaga's back. She was gone for a while. When she didn't want to go to Tanaris for good reason, but she's back now with the walking house and everything. So there's going to be some fun stuff going on with that. And up to this point, we really have had kind of Maru Kiru against the world, just by herself, doing the best she can. And now, in addition to her killing everything that moves with a big sword, she's also going to have some interpersonal interactions with people, and maybe navigate some different things. So the question that I asked, the question that I knew I was going to have to ask eventually, and I've talked about this with people before, is, you know, kind of what is going to happen to Maru Kiru when she encounters something that she can't just, you know, chop in half with a sword.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that's kind of going to be another one of the big themes of the arc is encountering problems that can't just be solved with wanton violence.
You know, we were talking backstage about this too. I should have pulled this up earlier when we were talking about it. Just how the speech bubbles have like this awesome like text behind it.
Well, there's a specific character who talks like that. I don't know if you remember when that character was first introduced. But there's only one character in the comic who speaks with that
okay.
kind of text bubble. So clue hunters and we'll might want to scroll back through and
scroll back and check it out. Yeah,
find out who it's early in the comic that they're introduced. So this is a villainous character who is going to appear a lot more in the new arc. And
just like this
introduced early on.
This paneling, it's just gorgeous too. I love just how you implement all these different like ideas and approaches. You have Maru with a arrow through the shoulder, dagger and sword through the bicep. You know, her physique is amazing. What's her diet? If you had to come up with her diet, like what does she eat? Like
that's a great question. I'm not really sure. I mean, the sources of protein on Soul
right here
are kind of a little bit limited. You know, anything that's kind of fun Tolth fact is like anything that is mammalian is also sentient on Tolth. So there's, you know, they've got a lot of lizards and insects that could potentially be food creatures. But you know, and there's some walking talking bugs and lizards as well. But yeah, that was one of the things that I wanted to do with the world to kind of set it apart and make it a little more alien. Is like, yeah, there's no like mammalian wildlife. It's all lizards and bugs. So I imagine that's a healthy part of the diet.
You know, I remember watching Lion King and Timon and Pumbaa when they eat the bugs. It looked delicious as a child. I'm like, sure. I would try a bite of that. But right here's what I was talking about, that sound effect, the rumble, and how the E ends like right on her thigh. Like the way you implemented her character design into the actual text. Like I just love that.
Yeah, I like doing stuff like that. I'm not I think it's really cool. I think that maybe some people would consider it to be a tangent, but I don't know. I think I like doing that kind of stuff. So I'm not real bogged down by the rules when I work on Maru Kiru. And that's kind of the point to me, is to do like, I like to do it like all the inset panels and stuff. I think is just, you know, you want to show kind of multifaceted aspects of a single scene. Stuff that you can only do on a comic page is kind of a big deal for me. I'm not really ever interested in like, adaptation is not my end game for Maru Kiru. It really is to print a comic book. And I think about this because everybody thinks about this and it's like, oh, what will we do in the anime? I'm like, I don't fucking know. I feel bad for anybody who would have to try to adapt this.
it's gonna be challenging. We have BMD Nerd. How many issues are in each volume? And after being hurt by Comixology, I'm a full-on PDF guy.
Oh, interesting. All right. Well, then I will definitely have a coffee link available for you. Because I want to accommodate everybody. And you know, we recently started posting on or will be soon posting on other digital platforms as well. So, you know, if you want to sign up for my newsletter too, there is a free subscription for my Substack to stay kind of abreast of everything that I'm doing. And we get all the links for everything in there. But I'm gonna start using Coffee a lot more to get the comics out, get the word out on things. So definitely keep your eyes on that, and definitely appreciate it. To answer your first question though, so there are 5 chapters in each volume, plus 1 bonus story, so for a total of 6. And I talked earlier about not obeying the rules, and that remains true for my chapter length as well. I don't call them issues because they're not 24 pages long. Most of them are a little bit on the shorter side. I tend to work at kind of more of a manga pace, doing like a 16-page typically, and then you've got some instances where like chapter 9, I think it's like 36 or 37 pages, so it really varies. Volume 2 is significantly longer than volume 1. I think that volume 1 is 81 pages, and I believe volume 2 is 117.
Okay.
So you got that going for you. But I'll probably put together some kind of bundle as well, if you want to buy, if you're looking to buy both of them, to give people a discount on that, because I want people to read the comic. That's all I want.
We have Ian Modric stopping in. Hey Cody, hey Brendan. Hey, welcome to the stream, Ian. I hope you're having a fantastic morning. Everyone that is here, thank you all for hanging out with us. I hope the coffee is brewing strong. I of course didn't have time to make coffee, so we opted for a monster. Had to get the kids to school, had to rush around, so no better way to wake up than with some Maru Kiru. This of course right here is Demon of the Pit, and I just loved the cover gives you a good idea, I guess, but I just love how I was not expecting it to be like kind of like a story about her tripping on shrooms.
Yeah, this is the drugs. So the story behind Demon of the Pit, which is the side story, the bonus story at the end of all the volumes, is I got brought onto an anthology several years ago, and I started doing the story Maru Kiru Demon of the Pit because Destroy the Moon had just started, and I didn't want to serialize that in an anthology. Very protective of Destroy the Moon, and I don't like it when other people put their hands on it. I don't know what it is, but it's like I want to do everything myself for that one. So I was like, okay, well, I still want to do Maru Kiru stuff, so I'll start a side story. That anthology ended up never coming out, as happens sometimes. And so I was left with this kind of bonus story. I stuck it at the end of volume 1, and I was like, okay, I'll either do something with it or I won't. And I did an interview with Jimmy Gasparo for Comic Book Yeti. And that was one of the things he said, is like, well, I really loved that Demon of the Pit story. It was because it was so funny. And, there's an element of humor kind of in everything that I do in some capacity, but I had never really thought about it as like setting out to make something funny. But there are some funny scenes that happen in that little side story. So I was okay. I told them on the air, I'm like, well, I'll do a second one for you then. Now I have to do it. And spoiler alert, but this particular chapter kind of ends on a cliffhanger, so there's going to be a third Demon of the Pit at some point. But that was something that at the end of the first chapter of Demon of the Pit is Maru Kiru fighting with a bunch of cannibals, and kind of having this taking the extremely moral and relatable stance of not wanting to be a cannibal. So at the beginning of this chapter, she's extremely hungry because she hasn't eaten anything. So she stumbles upon this patch of cave mushrooms and eats a bunch of them. and it ends up not being a great idea. And so she finds herself in a sticky situation at the end of this chapter, talking to this dude.
Which would be terrifying on mushrooms, I feel.
I actually have to update that page. So if you this is funny. If you go back to that page, here's a fun fact. I have a proofreader who is a very good friend of mine and wishes to remain anonymous. But he was read through this chapter and got to this page and said to me, I think this guy needs to stutter, and also he should have 6 fingers. So I did make that change to the page. I made a new version of the page where he has a stutter and he has 6 fingers, and apparently that's not what I uploaded to Global Comics, but it is what's in the print version. So maybe that should just be a special extra feature for the print version, is the 6-figured red man.
No, that would be terrifying though. So we're gonna see a third chapter of that at some point as well. I mean, so things are looking not so well for the moon, right? Like Maru Kiru is coming with a fiery vengeance, all sorts of different weapons, and it sounds like a brand new friend. I mean, where do you see this series heading to? Like, how long do you feel like you got for the series? Space? Yeah.
That's something that like nobody has ever asked me about this comic, which I think is weird. Is like, she's a lady with a sword who wants to blow up the moon. No one has ever asked me like what the functional what that's going to look like functionally, and how that's going to possibly happen. Obviously that's something that I need to figure out as we go through the comic. How are we even going to get to the moon? There, you might see that addressed early on in Chosen One's arc. It's mentioned really in the very first chapter of the comic. It's mentioned offhandedly that Manitatas has a skyship.
Ooh.
So maybe then you're gonna see that again.
Ooh, I love that. I love that.
If you've ever read anything by Gene Wolfe, any of the Solar Cycle, I think that there's I really like the aesthetics of fantasy stories that have a technological element of some sort, and I feel like Gene Wolfe is a little obtuse. Maybe a better example might be like Final Fantasy, where you have parts of the world that are very high fantasy and magical, and then you've got other parts of the world that are like sci-fi societies. I'm not saying that that's exactly what it's like on Tolth, but I will say that you've seen only a very small slice of that world, and it's probably it's obviously very low tech, and it's people hitting each other with sticks in the desert, sharp metal sticks, but but you've also seen, actually I'd say we've already kind of seen some suggestion of the larger world. There's robots, if you've read chapter 2, so there's a lot of stuff that I know as the creator, and a lot of stuff that I'm still kind of figuring out also, but there's a lot of stuff that I think that I'm gonna start. This is probably one of my greatest weaknesses as a writer, is I'm like, well, we gotta tease it out. We can't show our hand. We can't show anything. But you get to a point where it's like, okay, well, if you don't show anything, then how's your story gonna happen?
Like, how long are we gonna tease?
How long are we gonna tease for? So yeah, that's another thing, is like Chosen Ones is gonna start. We're gonna start going hard and fast on some of the world stuff and getting some more things out there. Characters will tell you their names when they appear, so I don't have to put it in the ancillary material for you to figure out later. Which is something I did in the first chapter. Before we started this interview, that was like one of the first things. You're like, okay, who was this person's name? Because I'm like, okay, yeah, here you go. But I'm thinking about maybe I'll put together a cipher at some point that tells you who everybody is.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah, so
we have
throw that up there.
We have Ian over on YouTube. Have you ever seen the Mr. Show sketch about blowing up the moon? I don't think I've ever. Okay.
Yes, America can, will, should, and must destroy the moon. Yeah, no, I've seen that. It's it's absolutely fantastic. I highly recommend watching the Mr. Show sketch about blowing up the moon. They write a country song about it. It's like 5 minutes long. It's great. But yes, I have seen that. I was shown that by somebody after making the comic, so I can't say that it was like a source of inspiration for it, but it is definitely something that I have gotten a lot of pleasure out of.
Anything about blowing up the moon, you gotta give like a little thumbs up to. I feel like like we're on the same team here, like you and I.
No, I love Bob Odenkirk and David Cross, and Mr. Show was. I did not interact with Mr. Show at the time that it was like currently airing, but I watched Live with Bob and David, which was like the Netflix revival, essentially the Mr. Show reunion. And after that, I kind of went back and saw some Mr. Show stuff, and it's like, yeah, they're very funny, and that sketch in particular is on brand for for me.
So, I mean, let's begin wrapping things up. So we're gonna expect a weekly update from this point forward on Global Comics and other platforms as well. Yeah.
So if you are following me on Global Comics, you'll get them in your inbox. The other way to do it would be to follow me on Substack. And if we start putting, as I start putting the comic up on other platforms, we're gonna do some, I think, bi-weekly updates to get the comic backlog up, and then we'll start publishing the new Chosen One stories when it catches up to what's on Global Comics. But if you are interested in like purchasing PDFs, Coffee would be the place to do that. And if you would like to, sign up as a monthly subscriber on Coffee, there's gonna be a lot of extras to go with that. Just in this month, there's going to be opportunity to, vote on what I do for the monthly illustration, which is going to be really cool. There's going to be opportunity to see a lot of behind the scenes content. There's so much behind the scenes content just for these first 4 pages of Chosen Ones. If you're somebody who is interested in getting into comics creation, there might be something useful for you there. I'm kind of a weirdo in the way that I workflow, so maybe I'm not the best example, but you might at least get a different perspective on how somebody does it. So, but sketch pages, if you want to see sketch pages, if you want to see my whiteboard where I kind of crunch all the story ideas, I'll show you the script pages as well. You can see how I took, essentially a couple of script pages and blew them out into this giant comic. So they, that's all that's going to be available through, for subscribers and coffee. And of course, there's going to be tons of free stuff too. I'm right in the middle of something right now called Fan Art February, which I'm not entirely sure is like a real challenge, but I'm treating it like one. And just doing little doodles of some of my favorite comics. So, if you like, so far we've hit on things like it's a Helen Galgenbeck and Orcs, Bird King. Got retweeted by Crom on Bird King. That's pretty fucking cool. Awesome. That's pretty fucking cool, I tell you.
I don't know. I feel like it would be a challenge, because I'm not an artist. I could not imagine drawing art every single day. Good art, like your art's fantastic. Like, and I try to look at it like from a writer's perspective, like writing something every single day. That would be a challenge in itself. So it's like to you don't consider it a challenge. To me, I'm just like, dude, it would take me 1 month just to do one picture. Like, I don't understand.
Yeah, I mean, if it's something, and totally seriously, like, I feel like anybody can be an artist if they work at it. And like pick up, being a perfectionist is something you're definitely gonna have to get over. But if you work at it every day, a certain controversial YouTuber who I'm not particularly a fan of, recently posted a very visible thing about how he drew every day for 100 days and just in a sketchbook and made a surprising amount of progress. And everybody knows who I'm talking about. I'm still not going to say this because, again, I don't really like the guy, but it is what it is in terms of being able to show that physical progress from just drawing every day and trying to improve a little bit. So yeah, anybody can really do it. That's one of the things that is going around on the internet right now that is just like needs to be debunked, is this idea that artists somehow have tapped in to some mystical source that allows them to just create illustrations that no one else is allowed to do because they don't have access to the talent machine that produces. That's bullshit. It's all just sitting in a closet and working hard and trying to get a little better every time. That's it. That's all there is to it. You can definitely take classes and you can improve maybe a little bit faster if you have somebody who knows what they're doing, who can mentor you and help you out with stuff like that. I've been very, very, very lucky to have a lot of artists in my life who have been patient enough with me to like look at my stuff and review it and tell me how to improve in a gentle fashion that my delicate ego can take. But the heart of all of it is just doing it for yourself and wanting to do it and wanting to be better at it and acknowledging that you're not going to do it perfectly the first time and that it's going to take time to get a little better and to grow it. But yeah, if anybody out there is interested in doing art, just pick up a pencil and start. Pick up shit, like start with shitty art supplies. Don't buy new art supplies. Start with shitty art supplies. Get a number 2 pencil. Get a mechanical pencil. That was some of my first art supplies. It was a stack of there's a ream of 8x11 printer paper and a cheapo box of mechanical pencils that I got at the dollar store. And that's all it takes. And that's we bring it back around to capability and competency and proficiency. If you can churn out good work on crappy art supplies, then you can also do it with very good art supplies. So just give it a go. Don't be afraid. Give it a shot.
I love that. And the thing is, like, I always ask a question, a piece of advice. I don't even think I could do that. Like, I think you just like killed like some great advice right there in itself. Holy crap. We got Ian saying great stuff. Can't wait to read it. Be sure to check out the Global Comics link right here. It is one more time. Make sure to follow Brendan on there to get the weekly updates as well. Or the Substack. We'll have that information updated in the description for you guys to check out at a later time. So, Brendan, this is one hell of a conversation. Always awesome to have you come back on the show.
Yeah,
everyone Absolutely, and it's awesome to blow the dust off. Everyone watching, I am hoping to at least do an interview once a week. So stay tuned and subscribe to me too. Be sure to throw the channel some love. At 900 subscribers, we are building a huge Gundam kit that's going to take probably like 4 to 5 weeks to build. I don't know. This thing is massive. So with that being said, it is time for us to wrap up. I hope you all have a lovely, lovely day, but most importantly, keep it geekly.